today.
Thank you for having me on.
Yes, thanks. In case our viewers are not aware, you are the leader of the UFT, which is the teachers union for New York City schools, and you're here at the Capitol with Mayor Bloomberg and the schools chancellor for the city.
Yes.
To lobby against education cuts.
Absolutely.
And are you hopeful? Because right now it looks like the budget's kind of a mess.
Well, we have to be hopeful because we're getting near the end of the school year. Schools are planning for next year already, especially in New York City, and we're looking at catastrophic cuts to our schools. And, you know, we look at 1976 when we saw catastrophic, that's the last time we saw catastrophic cuts to the school system of New York City, and we don't want to repeat this. So we're hoping today we can have conversations with the leadership here up in Albany, and we just came up to see what we can do to help and to lend a hand and to make sure everybody understands what these cuts would mean to our school system if they go in right now, and more importantly, how can we try to alleviate a lot of these cuts and the pain that the children are going to face.
Now, you know, the problem here is, of course, that the state has been run out of money on 3 occasions, delaying payments to districts. Also, we saw the budget extender bills. We saw the governor insert some health care cuts in there. He's not immediately going to do education. Education is a very hot-button issue. But you are going to have people who say, look, everybody has to accept the pain. Everybody, it's a tough time. Plus, New York has a very high, if not the highest in the nation, per pupil expenditure. Why not cut?
Because we're not saying that you shouldn't have cuts, but we're saying a $1.4 billion cut is going to be catastrophic. And, you know, the kids in the schools right now, they're not going to get a second chance. A child doesn't get to redo 3rd grade or redo middle school or high school. And if we're going to move towards the future, which is everyone keeps telling us, and we obviously believe in this, that the children right now need to be extremely well educated to move forward, to move this country and state forward. And we're just hoping that we're here to do our fair share, just like everyone else, but at the same time, a $1.4 billion cut is just too much for the children to absorb. It will cause irreparable harm to children.
Now, one thing that actually you're sort of simultaneously going through the state budget process and the New York City budget process, which is kind of a double whammy for you guys. And of course, education in both instances is one of the biggest areas of the budget at the state level, along with health care. And you're here with Mayor Bloomberg and Joel Klein. You haven't actually always gotten along with these two guys. What kind of trio is that like?
Well, it is, you know, you have to find ways to work together because we're here advocating on behalf of children. And, you know, we have our differences, and that's fine. You know, this is one thing about this country. We can all say what our differences are, but at the same time, it's really important that leadership shows the way that when you find that common ground, when you know it's in all the best interest of children for you all to work together, then you need to find a way to do that. And I think that's what we're clearly showing by being here today together.
One of the ways you actually managed to work together was this deal on lifting the charter school cap. The first time around, that didn't fly. The attempt was to get it passed before the first race to the top funding deadline. It's for federal money for incentive for school education funding. This time around, now race to the top application deadline was June 1. You did get a charter cap deal.
Yes.
Why is it that you guys actually managed to do something on that this time? Because my understanding was that charter schools wasn't something that teachers unions were thrilled about.
Now, you know, that's always been mischaracterized in that way. We said from the beginning, before Race to the Top even came out, we have always said that it's not about whether you raise the cap, it's about what reforms you put in place to make sure that all schools are being treated equally and that all students have real access to all schools. And we asked for those reforms, and this time we were able to come to an agreement where everyone could say that, you know, this is something that works for us. And in terms of Race to the Top, in the fact that the neediest children we know in New York City, they were not being serviced by charter schools. The application actually calls for us to be able to prove that we now have a system where the neediest children are being served by charter schools, and that legislation went a long way towards showing it. And the main reason we're up here budget is I find that it's my personal opinion that for-profit management all the money now needs to be put inside of the classroom where the children are, and there should be no money, taxpayers' money, going into someone's pocket to make a profit off of education.
Well,
that's just something we did not agree with whatsoever.
But that charter school legislation that was actually passed banned the continuation or going forward of for-profit charter schools. So you actually got your way on that one, which is interesting because, you know, there are many people who think that the teachers' unions, and it should be said, your umbrella union is NYSET, right?
Yes.
It's the statewide organization, has too much clout in Albany, particularly where it comes to the Democrat-dominated assembly. What is your response to that? And going forward, how is it that you're going to be working? Let's assume that the next governor is Andrew Cuomo.
Well, you know, there's two, you know, my own local, the UFT in New York City, is the largest local in the country, and NYSET here. People tell us we have clout, but if you look at everything that we do, all the money we spend, it's always advocating on behalf of children and schools. So if people are going to say that we're bad because we advocate on behalf of children and schools, then I say so be it. And in terms of moving forward with the governor's race coming up, you know, all of the locals of New York State, we get together, we make recommendations, and then as a statewide union, we make decisions, and then we could choose who to endorse or who not to endorse. And we're looking forward to that process this summer.
Yeah, because NYSET has actually suggested or raised the specter of not doing any endorsement in the governor's race. So it'll be interesting because it should be said that you guys have a considerable amount of clout in that race as the New York City union, that you will have a lot of say as to what NYSET ends up doing.
Well, that's why we have our own internal processes, and we do them, you know, we're very, very respectful, and we do them very responsibly, and we're going to do that this summer, and at that point, we will make our opinion known.
Michael Mulgrew, I want to thank you for joining me and for competing with the bells from City Hall in the background. I really do appreciate that.
The lovely bells of Albany. I love to come here for this.
Thanks very much.
Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.